Thank you, EG. So now let's proceed to the 8 aspects of fairness. First is the student's knowledge of learning target and assessment. This aspect of fairness refers to transparency. And according to the same source, transparency refers to the disclosure of information to learners about the assessment, which includes the learning outcomes to be assessed and evaluated, assessment formats and methods, allocated time in completing the assessment, weighting of terms and grading, the criteria or the rubric. So this means that teachers should inform their learners about the assessment so that the students will be aware about the learning outcomes that needs to be assessed. So through this, the students can adequately recognize the importance of assessment as well as to how to prepare for it. So in informing students regarding the details about their assessment, they will have sufficient time to prepare and acknowledge the significance of the assessment that will be conducted. Students will become part of the process and the assessment becomes learner-centered. So with regards to written assessment, it is significant that learners are aware of what is included and excluded in the text or the test. And also, giving them sample questions might be a big help for students to evaluate their strategies and current understanding levels. Example is in a particular subject where the teacher conducted a pre-test or the students the discussion before the discussion happen, the teacher will ask the students some questions that are related to the topic that will be discussed. Through this, the students will acknowledge or have some ideas about their current understanding or on how deep does their knowledge or understanding about the topic that hasn't discussed yet. So for performance assessments, prior to the assessment, the criteria should be divulged so that students will be aware of what the teacher is looking for and to perform correctly in the actual product or performance. With the said criteria, students will reflect on their practices and identify personally their strengths and weaknesses. Work performance and product can be evaluated by them and can make necessary enhancement before the scheduled assessment or work submission and for product-based assessment. Originality should also be emphasized to make students more confident to themselves and allow them to realize their own potential. For example, is when the teachers assign the students for reporting. And it is important to know what is the criteria so that the students can acknowledge the quality or the performance that the teacher is expecting. The second one is the opportunity to learn. According to Macmillan 2007, asserted that fair assessments are aligned with instruction that provides adequate time and opportunities for all students to learn. Because of the breadth of content that has to be covered in addition to limited or loose classroom time, there are some teachers who are forced to give reading assignments. And because of this, students may be put to a disadvantage because they were not given ample resources of time to sufficiently assimilate the material. So teachers need to provide sufficient time and opportunities for all students to learn. It is important for students to experience the process of information and able to develop their skills. And so to address the situation, extra time may be allotted as a makeup of the sessions missed and encouraging team review is advisable. It is not necessary to force students because they might have hard time and might have less understanding, and and might lose the opportunity to learn. For example, giving students some reading assignments or activities without having some discussions about it, nor giving some examples and introduction. So students might have hard time answering the assignments or the activities. They will be confused if they are doing it right or not doing it right at all. Instead of learning and understanding the topic or the lesson, students might just get confused and won't learn something about the topic at all. And that's all for the first and the second aspects of fairness, which is the student's knowledge of learning targets and assessment and the opportunity to learn. And I believe that the third and the fourth aspects of fairness will be discussed by Myla Jane Duroy.